Hello and welcome to another episode of the Discourse Assembly. We are three lifelong friends who battle it out, cage match style, for your entertainment. Weapon of choice? Our minds.
But if you want our faces on spicy sweet chili Doritos,
Which
get
are
a
the
hol-
best?
get a hold of them. When South Park
China.
made that episode, made Tally say F China, I lost it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, yeah, it's either you want America, and I know everyone's bad on us, right? We're the worst people in the world. Do you want China? Do you
Right?
think racism and sexism is better in China? Give me a break.
Yeah, it's
No,
way
they
worse.
they just kill you.
They kill you. If you're black, they kick you out of their country. You know,
Yeah.
if you're Chinese, I mean not Chinese. If you're
If
you're Chinese,
Get out!
they'll kill you. If you're Chinese, you're like, oh, you might have the COVIDs. We're gonna lock you in your house, and we'll come back in a couple months. And if you survive, you survive. You know, but if you're Christian or Muslim, they lock you into re-education camps, and that place is a scary place, man.
It's an easy way to bring down your infection rates.
Yeah.
They're not infected anymore. They're dead.
I mean, that's what Michigan and New York did, and now they're being praised for it. Look, we have less COVID now. Well, because everybody that was acceptable, you already killed off. That's why Ebola.
Michigan, wait a minute, hold on. I don't think Michigan's going around executing people who have COVID. Like,
No, they just took people that had COVID and shoved them in an old folks' home, the most susceptible people to the virus, and they locked them in there. And it was like, you can't leave until you're healthy. And then they all died. And they're like, well,
I'm
problem
sure
solved.
as soon as Michigan opens up more, it's going to be the same story. I mean, the virus is still here.
Yeah, well, they got 30 new cases, so that's why we're still in a state of emergency, because 30 cases. As she walks around in a parade, high-fiving people side by side without a mask, and then telling people, what they can and cannot do.
The court shut her down.
no.
No.
I heard the court shut her
No,
down.
No, the courts ruled in her favor the last time.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's some more cases, but
Yeah, she just did this a couple days ago when the state of emergency was going to end, like a couple hours before. She's like, we're going to extend it because there's 30 more cases. 30
I mean,
cases.
this is the thing, right? They say that COVID is going to be seasonal now, so should we just shut the economy down like every flu COVID season? I mean, that seems smart.
You can't, right?
Well, you say we can't, but Big Gretch says probably.
She knows
It depends if you're against me or not.
Well, it's the same thing. I have friends that are so afraid to leave their house, and that's a whole nother issue. But it really reflects on, okay, yeah, this thing's happening. It's terrible. You do get sick. You can die. Most people don't. Okay. How are you gonna live your life? You're gonna be scared? Like you're not gonna go out? Like you're not gonna do? Like I can't live that way, and I won't. So if
you go out, you can get it, Greg.
I could get it getting mail. From getting mail, right? I could get it that way. So
you can't anymore.
Yeah, you can. Well, you know what I should do is I should go protest, and then I won't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well,
sorry.
It depends. What are you protesting?
Exactly. It depends on what you're protesting.
Right.
I think
that doesn't matter if you're on certain
what they call
sides.
herd immunity. So if you get into a herd of protesters, you're immune. I think that's what that means.
That's
Well,
science.
it depends. If you're on the wrong protest, well, then you're just killing grandma. I mean, that's the logic there.
I don't want to kill grandma.
Well, so again, when I'm explaining this to people, I think Gretchen Whitmer did the best she could do, mostly with the information we had at the time. So some of that stuff. No, we're going back in time, right, and saying, "Oh, you should have did this." Well, now we know. We didn't know at the time, right?
We're here now, though. We're here in the present, and she's still
exactly not the same stuff. I mean, I think right now is more in line of what we should have done from the beginning, right? People who can work from home probably should. We should try to wear masks. We should try to separate a little bit. Those are really effective ways of doing it. Shutting down the entire economy, I don't think it's super effective. Yeah, I mean, you get some, cross transmission, but as we know now, obviously it doesn't infect as much as we thought, right?
So
And
I
doesn't
would,
affect the way we
yeah,
did.
no.
Right.
And I would take what you're saying and probably scale it back just a tad to where we say if you are symptomatic, wear a mask, and if
Oh,
possible,
yeah.
quarantine. Now that we are told, who knows if this is true or if they're going to flip flop on this, but we're told if you're asymptomatic, then you're very unlikely to pass
Right.
anything anyway. So it's like everybody wearing a mask is a little overkill.
It could be, but it helps people. I don't have a problem wearing the mask when I go to the store. Now I have a problem wearing a mask at work for 10 hours a day. Okay, that's where I kind of draw the line there. But I don't mind kind of scaling back. I don't mind some of the other stuff that we're doing to kind of make sure we don't get infected. Okay, like uh, having more space for people at restaurants, stuff like that. I think those are very good things we can do to obviously stop this infection and other things. So
And all of this, I think, is going to depend on the willingness of both businesses and the public to adhere. Because, like, I'll tell you, and this is, I don't know if this is a good or a bad example because of the recent COVID numbers, but when I was in Florida towards the beginning of May, and they just opened up that week, there was definitely um, a mixed, uh, excuse me, there was a
I
mixed
will not.
reaction from the businesses as far as the restaurants. Like some restaurants looked completely packed, and some had emptied, created space.
But what were the rules there though? So Michigan actually has rules that say
Capacity.
what was that?
25% capacity is what they opened up at. So
Oh.
there were some that were definitely over, and I'm fine with that, but other people weren't.
Yeah, but when you think about it, they're sitting there with their businesses shut down for a while. They need to get that money, and
They
you
do.
expect them to
Yeah.
be like, you know what, we're gonna turn you away because we're so well off. Like it's like no, like their
Yeah.
business has been bleeding out for months. Like
Yeah,
they
I mean, there's a lot of businesses that will just not recover,
no,
unfortunately.
and
You know what? And I had arguments with people uh, about those two things, right? They showed Michigan, and yeah, we're doing a good job, right? But they're saying, oh, because we accomplished this task, Gretchen Whitmer is the best leader ever. Okay, that's one way of defining. She did a good thing on this one task, but being a leader to me is a little bit more. There's more here that we have to deal with. The economic impact, okay, losing the businesses that causes stress, putting people home in isolation. How many people, committed suicide? I don't know. How many people, got so stressed out they started beating their kids? I don't know what this is, or became alcoholics, or I don't know. There's a
Right.
human side of this people don't say. So
Sure.
yeah,
again,
suicides
when
went up,
people
depression went up.
go, and I don't know, I felt the same thing, dealing with what I'm dealing with, and all of a sudden we have to go get isolated. It sucked, right? It wasn't the best, but I got through it. But there's a lot of people that won't or have other issues. But I guess the point is, people are on, they're touting this and being all virtuous, like, yeah, we won, look, we're right. I'm like, you're not seeing the whole picture. You're not looking at the human cost
It's
that
confirmation
we went
bias,
through.
right?
It is, and the right's the same way. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah,
People on the right are the same way. But don't be so damn righteous about stuff. Just because you have one data point doesn't prove that this person is a great person or did a great job. They did accomplish the task well. I'll give her that. She had had a goal, and she did it. Okay, I don't
Yeah.
think we can
yeah, she
argue
flattened the
that.
curve that was already flattening.
At the detriment of other things, sure. But she said, I want to save the most number of lives I can, and she did that. Although it doesn't erase what happened previously, where they, like Mike said, they started shoving people into the old folks' homes, and
Right.
No, that's not
they
saving lives. That's
horrible
No.
decisions at that point.
well, it's
But
not just
again,
that, right? It's not just that. It's the other things she did too. Like where if you protested against her, she was all against it and saying how wrong and evil it was. But then if you protest for something else, then she's like, oh, it's virtuous, it's right, because it's
Did she
that
say
self.
that? I mean,
It's that
let's
self.
be. I just
No,
want to be fair. Did
she
Gretchen
went.
Whitmer say that?
Yeah, by her actions, by she going to these
Okay.
protests and walking them, and then she just did another
Maybe.
another parade where she walked with no mask on, shoulder to shoulder people, high fiving people that she was walking by. They didn't have masks on. It's all for a political show. Like this is
Yeah.
this is what she was doing, and that's why doesn't think that it's permissible for you to protest against her. But if you protest against something else that she stands for, then it seems to be okay with her. And you're seeing that from a lot of people, and it's stupid.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I don't understand how hard it is just to be equal. Give the equal praise or the equal condemnation to the exact same thing for different causes.
It's tribalism. My side is right, your side's wrong.
Yeah.
It's the whole righteous thing. I post this, I'm righteous. It's
That's
annoying.
exactly what it
because
is.
Cleese has an amazing bit on this. I don't know if we can bring that up or not.
I mean,
If not, you should go check it out.
No, we can definitely do it, but
yeah, I can pull it up.
we
That's-
won't hear it.
Yeah, the
Mm.
people
I don't
hear
think
it.
so. But
No.
but our audience will hear it.
Yeah. Well, we can just go through it real quick if we want to. I'll just go
Yeah.
through his part.
It's perfect for what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right, so I'll start it up right now.
People can't control their own emotions, then they have to start trying to control other people's behavior. And when you're around super sensitive people, you cannot relax and be spontaneous because you have no idea what's going to upset them next. And that's why I've been warned recently, don't go to most university campuses, because the political correctness has been taken from being a good idea, which is let's not be mean, particularly to people who are not able to look after themselves very well. That's a good idea, to the point where any kind of criticism of any individual or group can be labeled cruel. And the whole point about humor, the whole point about comedy, and believe you me, I've thought about this, is that all comedy is critical. Even if you make a very inclusive joke, like, how do you make God laugh? Answer, tell him your plans. Now, that's about the human condition. It's not excluding anyone. It's saying we all have all these plans which probably won't come, and isn't it funny how we still believe they're going to happen? So that's a very inclusive joke. It's still critical. All humor is critical. And if you start saying, oh, we mustn't criticize or offend them, then humor's gone. With humor goes a sense of proportion. And then as far as I'm concerned, you're living in 1984.
Yeah, so that was that. I think.
And we're back.
Yeah,
That was amazing. Wait a minute,
That was
was it amazing, Mike? You got to tell us.
yeah. I mean, John Cleese nailed it. I mean,
Nailed it.
he really did. You can't get rid of humor, and you shouldn't try to put people in boxes and be like, "This is what you can say. This is what you can't say."
You
Is
can put people in boxes so long as you have enough holes in there so they can breathe.
And just so that I hope we were watching the video I thought we were watching. It's the one where he talks about, the people on the left and the people on the right having enemies on the other side.
No, that's not what you gave me.
All right. Well, I don't know if
But it
that-
was about political correctness and how I mean, you can't sit there and be worried about every little thing that is said because it might hurt a single individual that we have to ban it outright and just be done with it. It's just like, no, it's humor. Like once you get rid of humor, you get rid of a lot of things. I mean, even like I brought up before we started recording with Chappelle's 846, where he was like, this is the last place civil discourse other than this channel. He's not aware of this yet. But then he was like, rat-a-tat-tat, He's like, that's what's going to happen. If you get rid of discourse and you get rid of everything else, once that happens...
Nope. Let's point out, Mike, Dave, if you're watching this, you could totally be on our show.
No, he knows
Just
it.
saying. Just
Absolutely.
open invitation. Almost any person who's famous. That'd be great.
So, because I thought we were
Mostly
watching
Dave Chappelle.
video, my bad. I do want to point out what John Cleese said back in I don't know what year. It looked like an old clip, but he talked about people on joining the far left so that they could have an enemy in the people on the far right, and all of these enemies that they create, they can blame everything bad on those people because they're their enemy. And then you have the people joining the far right who create enemies of people on the left, and they can blame everything bad on those people, and everything good comes. It's
Yeah,
actually
that's
a
normal.
Yeah.
really good bit. I'm sorry you didn't just get to hear it.
Well, it's
My
a good
bad.
it's a good point. My issue with that is that we see that. I mean, whatever the far left doesn't like becomes alt right, right? So they are doing exactly what Cleese said. That's just like making their
Yeah.
enemies. But it's just like you can have a very moderate person, and all of a sudden, the far left's like, "Hey, you are alt right
Well,
because you
the
don't agree with
moderate-
us."
The moderate to John Cleese was an enemy of both the right and the left, which is very true.
I mean, I don't know. I see the right accepting more moderates than ever before.
That's because the right is not really far right.
Yeah, the right
I mean, and
and
there's
hasn't
evidence.
changed. The right has stayed
It
the
really
right.
hasn't changed. Yeah,
The
it's
left has
basically
continued
stayed the
to
same.
slide to the left over throughout the course of like 100 years. Just keep sliding farther into the left.
No, actually, it's slid a lot in the last 12 or 8 years.
Yeah,
something
that's
like
been the
that.
most. But like you've seen for at least 100 years, there's been sliding. But you're right. Over the last like 10, 12 years, there has been more of a massive slide
Well,
farther to the
and
left.
let's face it. What has attributed to that, I believe, is that it hasn't been sliding further in those years, but we've had more eyesight to it. We've had the ability through social media and all of these things to see their slide more clearly. Because I mean, they've been going that way when you
Yeah, but
look at
the thing is,
policies and everything.
but as they slide farther left, right, the social media people are starting to, like everybody, well, not everybody, but quite a bit of people, at least like my personal experience has been, I'm seeing more and more people post stuff that they don't get it. They don't understand what they're posting. They just it makes them feel self-righteous. So they're echoing out
Yeah.
these things that they don't understand, and they're like, "Oh, this
It's
makes
just
me
a
feel
meme.
good."
It's a meme and they think they understand the topic, okay, and it's like a couple like words and like a graph, and I'm like, well, do you know how they got this information? It's like,
Right.
oh, I just saw one about COVID cases, okay, and how bad America is versus the European Union. Like, well, how many people are in the European Union? Who's reporting? How did they handle it? What's their government like? How much testing do they have? You know,
Yeah.
who do they test? What's their policies? Like, don't sit here and Donald Trump's terrible. America's doing the worst. It's like, well, how are they dealing with it? Like, that's a whole discussion you gotta have.
Right.
How
Don't
are they
just
reporting it?
don't post a meme and act like, oh yeah, look, this is proof.
Our states are
Like,
as big as countries over there, and our governors are the one that were running this. They were getting federal funding, but the governors, the states, were the ones running this.
Sure.
It's not Trump's fault. And the thing is, when Trump said he was going to get involved, then all of a sudden he was a fascist dictator. So it's they
He
just
was
jumped
racist.
that,
The ban, right? The travel ban.
yeah, the Chinese
that
travel
came
ban.
out-
xenophobic was the
Xenophobic. Yes, you're
Yeah.
correct.
Whenever he tried to do something, they called him something, and then when he pulled back, they're like, "Look, he's not doing anything." I'm like,
yeah.
"What is
No,
this? Let them
That's
eat
definitely
cake."
true.
And we openly admitted that we were being very liberal with how we were labeling COVID deaths, for one.
Yeah.
So our death numbers are probably inflated.
They say by
Yeah.
25%.
Well, who says that? That's a
what-
lot.
Yeah. From
It
what
is a
I've
lot.
seen, it wasn't Fauci, the Dr. Blix or whatever her name is. She said that. A lot of other like doctors have came out and said that this is like Colorado as a state. They came out and they're like, we think this death toll is ridiculous. We're going to double check it. So they went through and they started verifying cases, and they instantly dropped 25% rather quickly. The Philadelphia, I don't know if it was all of Pennsylvania or if it was just like Philadelphia, they looked into their numbers, and like overnight, hundreds of them disappeared because they started looking into their numbers, and everything's averaging out to about 25%.
But see, now it's going to be a cover-up, right? They're taking away the numbers. But, when you have hospitals who get more funding if they have a COVID patient, it seems like it's to their benefit. And then the CDC also put out that if, I think it said, this has been a while since I read it, but if you even have any inkling that this person had COVID on their death, then label it as COVID, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I heard from some doctors, they said, when we received this, we were taken aback a little bit because we have never received anything like this previously. It didn't
opposite,
make
right?
sense as a medical doctor.
Unless you can prove it, you don't put it as a cause of death. I think that's probably the normal operating procedure.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's the opposite here for COVID.
Yeah, I mean, in Michigan, we had a guy who committed suicide. He had COVID, and he was marked as COVID death.
Really?
It's like, are you out of your mind? He had COVID, but that's not what killed him.
But some of that is political and funding. I do think that they either will or expect to get paid if they label it a COVID death.
Well, from what I saw...
But you got to understand, all these hospitals that are treating this, we're trying to keep going, but then they ban any other procedures. So anything they were making money on, like real money on, they couldn't do. They're just starting to do that now. So
sorry, Greg, go ahead.
No, I think the point of that is some of that is they had to do that to try to keep themselves afloat. So when you post these little memes, right, with all these, it's science, statistics, I got a chart, right, and all, it's not, because you don't know what the underlying conditions are, and you don't know where those numbers came from. You're not actually doing any critical thinking. You're just sharing a meme, a picture on social media. So please step off your pedestal and maybe take a few minutes. And if you think it's really true, then why don't you figure it out, do some research, break it down for me, and actually write it in a big long post, and I'll read it. Because that would interest me. But when you post this self-righteous pictures on there and you're like, oh, this proves my bias, get out of here. And I do that.
How can it not be true?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not just picking. I know we on this little show here we're picking on liberals and the Democrats. I do this on Facebook with my right-wing friends too. All the time. It's like you posted something really dumb, so I'm gonna go argue with.
Right, yeah, like I'll call people out on the right as well. I mean, I do lean more right, obviously, but like you, Greg, I kind of in that libertarian, mainly the anarcho-capitalist, kind of group somewhere in there. And but the most I see, right, is from the left, and it's not just COVID. It's about anything and everything. Whatever makes them feel good. So whatever is the new bandwagon slogan, that's being pushed up. And it's like, you have no idea what this is about, or you don't actually do anything. And they always have excuses for it. Well, I have kids. Like, so do a lot of these other people. But they're standing for what they actually believe in. And it's not about whether I agree or disagree with them. They're actually doing it. You're on the internets, and you're like, oh, okay, now that I'm on the webs, this makes me feel good, so I'm going to post it, and I'm going to try to shame other people who don't agree with me. It's like it's a societal issue. It's not just like, and I do see it more from the left. And I think that's the issue I was trying to get to before a little bit was if you see it right now, the far left, as they vocalize their views, it's being echoed in social media. And I think it's because of that self-righteous nature. I mean, they have become, like, we look back in history now, we're like, oh, well, the right had that very conservative religious kind of aspect to it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think this is?
No, it is. It's a new religion. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that goes to that, we talked about that post, right? Where, and maybe move on to that next step there, Mike? Do you think?
Yeah.
Matt? Okay. So, we had that post with that that post that I actually responded to from someone on Facebook. And the post was basically saying, if you vote for Donald Trump, if you vote for Republicans in general, you're racist, you're sexist, you're not for the poor people, you're not for this, and this. Basically just running down the list of, you're a terrible person and now you are labeled with these things, right?
All right.
And
I
it's
don't look
just,
at policies. I go with emotions.
right. And right. But you're automatically this. There was no room. There's no wiggle room. It was a definite statement. And then I know he came out and said, "Oh, I wanted to talk about it." So no, you wrote something that was a statement. You
Yeah.
said, if you vote this way, if you do this, you are a racist. You are a sexist. And then so I brought up, what about the other side? So they're on their side. They think they're great, and the liberals and the left, but they don't look at the crazies on their side. And we know our crazy, on the right side, and let's not say our side. I'm not a Republican, right?
Right.
But the Republicans know they're crazies, right? That Chris, what is it? What was his name? Or King something? That senator or whatever, the actual white supremacist that they kicked out.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about.
Forget his name. But we actually know who those people are, right? On the left, obviously the people in the middle, we know who the crazies are too, but they don't recognize it. They think they give those people cover. So my issue here is, you're saying that, okay, we're against LGBT. If you vote for Donald Trump, you're against LGBT rights, you're against women, you're against black people. I'm like, well, what about the left? If you vote for the Democrats, are you then therefore voting for violence? Are you voting for rioting? Are you voting for banning books and art? Is that any better? In my opinion and in my assessment, no, it's worse. That does more harm. And you can look just at the Supreme Court. It's a conservative court that just ruled in favor again for LGBT rights, right?
Yeah.
It just expanded the Civil Rights Act to include, transsexual people, and actually anyone, based
Yeah.
on what they perceived. And now we could talk about the rationale behind that, which I don't disagree with, but there is a slippery slope or possible opening yourself up to other things later. But we could talk about that. But I guess the point is, you're saying on this side that if you vote Republican, you're all these ists. And yet the actual what's happening is the opposite, right? Since Trump has been, and let's be honest, since Trump's been president, we haven't really had a war. Okay, we've had more peace than I've had, and I don't know, since I can remember. Okay, that's including Obama. Definitely including Obama. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize, so just, whatever. But we haven't had a war. LGBT, the alphabet people community, their rights have expanded quite considerably. We've had unemployment go down up until this point, the COVID stuff, for minorities. And, people were making more money. Now you can talk about maybe income inequality, stuff like that. Maybe that wasn't fixed under what was going on because we're kind of doing more of the same and that. So you could argue that, but at the same time, you're looking at the actual effect of this person and what their policies are doing versus what these other people want to do. And my contention is, yeah, it would be way better to vote for Trump, even though he's an ass. He's not a good guy. He lies, he cheats, he bullies. He's not a good person. But on the left, what's going to happen when those crazies take over? When we have racial quotas for jobs? When we're banning books from curriculum? When we can't even talk? Like, let me be honest, and I know you all feel this too. I'm kind of afraid of what I have to say on this. Like, politics, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why if you look at like polls and stuff. My buddy asked me the other day, and he asked me what I think about everything that's going on. My response was, "There's no better way to describe it but a crap show." And I was like, I don't even know where to begin. And he's like, "Well, how about we begin with Trump?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He's a conservative, and he was like, "Well, I'm looking at these polls, and they're saying he's losing, and he's going to lose, just like they did last election."
Maybe.
And he goes, "Who are they asking? I can never find these numbers. I look at these polls. I can never seem to get what's their sample. Who are they calling?" He's like, "I've never been called. I don't know a single conservative ever." And I said, "Well, here's the thing, buddy. If somebody called you," I said, "I know you're a little crazy, so you'd say, 'Yeah, I'm voting for Trump.'" I'm like, "Somebody called me. Even I haven't decided yet who I'm voting for. I'm not voting for Biden. That has been decided. But I was like, if somebody called me, I don't know if I want to tell them who I plan to vote for, especially if it's Trump. If that's who I decide, like, I don't want, because then what? I don't know who these people are. What are they going to do with this?"
Now you're on a list.
Yeah, I'm on a list.
You're on a list, Mike.
I'm now the enemy. Like, it doesn't, that kind of stuff scares me. Am I going to get doxxed, get threatened? Are people just going to show
fired.
up one day? Am I going to get fired? They're going to come after me like, "This guy's a hater. You got to get rid of him." I found a tweet from 8 years ago that I do not like. And then they just come up with a whole narrative that why I'm the bad guy. Like, no, I'm not going to answer that question who I'm voting for. Out of your mind?
We all know from the last election, polls don't always represent, right? I mean, the polls all had Hillary winning all the way up through election day. All the news channels were basically pouring champagne for themselves and waiting to congratulate Hillary, and didn't happen. So I don't put a lot of weight in polls.
I know, and this is all, just me dealing with it. I see a shift among moderate people more towards Republicans. And that's been a shift that's happened the last couple years. And it's definitely accelerated the last year. And I know now we're in kind of a moment, and then we talked about it, and some of it's totally justified. Yeah. And if it was just, we're going to reform the police, it's, racial justice, we're going to bring we're going to bring this all up, we're going to have this conversation. If that was what the left meant, if that's what it really was, I'd be on board. I would totally be on board for that.
Yeah.
But that's not all they want. They want that's the top, right? That's the stuff we can all get behind. But underneath, there's so much more that they want to do. That is really, it's just banning speech. It's bullying. It's taking away people's ability to talk. Right? If you don't say anything correctly, and if I say something wrong here and it gets posted, I mean, I could definitely get fired. I mean, that's chilling, right? Yeah. We see it all the time with these businesses. You're wrong thinking, right? You post something out on the internet, it's a wrong think, and you get fired. You can't have that, okay? We need to have those conversations. Even if people are wrong, we got to hear it. We have to hear it. Because that's how you grow. The only thing you're going to do by shutting down speech is you're going to make those people more powerful.
Yeah.
And they're not going to learn.
And what are you really doing when you're hiding the speech or the opinions of, and some of it, to be quite honest, when we're talking about both the far left and the far right, some of their thoughts are borderline dangerous. But so let's say, like right now, I mean, it's pretty evident that right-leaning channels and media gets censored. And when you're hiding those opinions, let's say there is a dangerous opinion from someone on the far right, at least you can.
Wait a minute. What's a dangerous opinion? I don't think there's a dangerous opinion.
Okay. You're right. Let me correct myself.
You can have a wrong opinion.
No. If there is an ideology out there that presents a danger if acted upon, how's that?
Democrats.
Sure, yeah, the far left.
Seriously, I'm not even joking. If they were to have their way, they would shut down right-leaning. I mean, they're already trying to do it through the cancel culture.
Right.
Okay,
They
we
are.
could just what is the Federalists just had a big thing where they are like, oh, someone from the comments wrote some kind of racist, homophobic thing. You need to shut them down. So they got through like I forget CNN or something, and some other group contacted Facebook, and then Facebook said, oh, we can't monetize you on the ads, and they took it back after they said, yeah, we did
That was
demonetize
Google.
them. They took it back
That was
saying,
Google.
yeah, Google.
Yeah.
And they literally did that. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no difference from doing like a soft censorship like that and taking away people's monetization and their money and ruining their life that way in their companies versus like a hard censorship. I don't really see a big difference between that. And if the left had their way, they'd be doing that left, right, and center. And it's clear as day to anyone. But because these people identify as liberals and Democrats and they think they're helping people, they're giving these other people cover. And these people are the crazies that they'll just destroy society.
Yeah.
They want to bring it down. Okay, and
Or
maybe there's an argument to bring down society. Okay, I'll listen to it. We could talk about it. Have a revolution. I don't have a problem with that. We can have that discussion. But I mean, let's have that discussion. They don't want to discuss it. They just want to do it.
Right. Well, I think that it's based on the types of people, right? So, I mean, I talk to people that will say that they're Republican or that they're very conservative, and when I talk to them, especially what's going on right now, I see them backstepping. Like, you know what you said is right. I can't argue with that. Police reform, that is needed. Yep, that's needed. And they are right there saying, hey, I was wrong about that. You're right on this. And they'll backstep and reformulate and actually critically think about what these positions are. But if I talk to someone on the left going, okay, don't you think this is a little too far? What do you think? No, this is it. It's got to be this way. You just don't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? I agree with you on so much, and I'm just saying right here, maybe you shouldn't draw that hard line and hear, a different viewpoint. And I'm not saying all, but it's most. This is how I feel. This is what's going on, and it's like you've never been this way before. All of a sudden,
easier to put
you're
you in a
posting
box,
these things, right? But the problem is that they're putting themselves in the box, right? They're putting themselves in the box. It's like, this is all I will accept. It's it. It's done. And then they'll go to tell you that doing that to people is wrong. I'm like, you're the one doing it, and you're doing it to yourself.
We need to start asking, are you okay with banning books from curriculum? Are you okay with racial quotas? Are you okay with all the stuff that they actually want to do? Are you going to support that?
Right.
Yeah, open board. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm an anarcho-capitalist kind of, anarchy type person. There is a rationale behind having complete open borders, but that's with not having a state. Okay,
Yeah.
We do have a state, and if you don't have borders, you don't have a state. There's no government. There's nothing. So I mean, that's just like the basic definition of a state. But yeah, I mean, are you going to allow those people to take cover under the mantle of the Democrat Party? And that's what you're allowing. You're not calling them out. And there's tons of people on the left, okay, that are done with that. But they moved to the right, so now they're just called right-wing extremists.
Yeah.
Right?
And even though they still agree with so much on the left, they're now the enemies because they left the tribe.
Oh, even people on the left that might come out and in a common sense moment say, well, I don't understand why you're so hard on sub, and then all of a sudden, even though they're liberal or leaning left, they're an enemy now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Even they can't do it. So I mean, just look at all the people who are afraid to say that they're going to support Trump. And we all have our right, Republican friends that are diehards, right?
Yeah.
And post about it all the time. And I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of people that support Trump that won't say it. They won't say it at work. They won't say it out with friends. They won't say it out in a group. But at home, they're reading about it and they know who they're going to vote for. And I'm just telling you, the fact that people are afraid to say who they're going to vote for is a problem. Like, that should be
Yeah.
problem number one. That is the chilling effect that the left is providing in their cancel culture, and that is not good. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get behind that. I won't. I find that when you start attacking speech and you start you're literally making people afraid to say what they want to say. That is worse than anything else that I think the Republicans can do. China can suck it. They're
China
terrible.
can suck it.
China.
Ha ha.
Burn. Snap.
Haha. I just hope YouTube doesn't strike this content because I made fun of China. So sorry, YouTube. Sorry, Pooh Bear, China Man.